Alright, so I just started a brand new Minecraft world. I figured, if I'm starting fresh here on YouTube, why not start fresh in the game too, right? The plan for today is pretty simple. Just explore the area around spawn, grab some basic stuff like stone tools, food, and hopefully get a bed before night shows up. I'll also keep an eye out for any structures nearby, maybe even tame a wolf if I get lucky. Let's just see how far we can get on day one. And honestly, I'm still kind of new to all this, so if you've got any tips or things I should try, just drop them in the comments. Seriously, I'd really appreciate it. Alright, so while I'm gathering some stuff here, let's jump into this first story I found on the subreddit r/relationships. The title is I, female, 26, hate the ring my fiance, male 27, proposed with, and I don't know what to do. So here's what she says. Throwaway because my fiance knows my main. A wonderful thing happened this past weekend, which is that my boyfriend of 5 years proposed to me. It was extremely romantic and I couldn't have planned something better myself. I'm over the moon right now, except for one thing, my ring. When my fiance and I first started to talk seriously about getting engaged, I told him that we could choose a ring together, or he could ask me questions about my preferences and look through my existing jewelry to get an idea of what styles of rings I like. He wanted it to all be a surprise, so he opted for the latter. I was a bit nervous because I can be picky when it comes to jewelry, but I trusted that he would have enough resources and knowledge to make a wonderful choice. The only guidelines I gave him were nothing pink, no blue sapphires, and no diamonds. As it turns out, I hate the ring. Not just in a, it's not really my style, but it'll grow on me way, but in a, wow, this is ugly and I would never wear it way. I feel absolutely awful for thinking this, but I can't help it. Here's what she says is wrong with it. It's huge and gaudy, like the sort of rings you see old women wearing. It's in the shape of a heart. I dislike heart-shaped jewelry, which is why I never owned any until now. It's amber. I'm a fan of light/honey-colored amber, but this is way too dark. It's also extremely impractical to have amber be worn as an everyday ring. It's going to become scratched and dull very, very quickly. She has attached a photo of the ring. Let me just put that on the screen. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so it's definitely big, like really chunky, and it's got this old school kind of vintage gold band around it. I mean, I can see how someone might think it's romantic, but yeah, I get why she's not into it. It just doesn't match the vibe she described, not subtle, not modern, and definitely not her taste. She then writes, I just don't understand why in the world he picked this ring out for me. It's not my style at all, and it's clear he didn't do any research. If he had, he would have known amber was a poor choice. I'm actually rather hurt by his choice, because to me, it shows a lack of care on his part. The worst part of all is that I have no clue how to broach the subject with him. He and I share everything with each other and have no secrets, so it's doubly hard on me to not only dislike the ring, but to also not be talking to him about this problem, like we do with everything else. How can I bring this up without hurting him? I want him to know I love him deeply and that I'm so happy to be engaged, but that the ring needs to be changed. I'm freaking out and need advice badly. There's an update to this. Let's hear her out first. After he arrived home last night and we had dinner, we got onto the couch to cuddle. I knew it was the best time to talk about it, so I started off by telling him how ecstatic I am to be married to him and how much I loved the proposal. I then launched into my main point and said, I'm so sorry to do this, but we're going to have to pick a different ring. The amber is going to get destroyed in no time, and the ring is just too big for my hand. I kept banging it into everything today as is. It's just an impractical choice in the long run. He immediately looked like he was about to cry, which made me feel terrible. He put his head down and said, You don't like it, just be honest. I admitted that the impracticality of the ring was a very real issue, but that I also didn't like it. I said, I'm kind of confused why you picked it because it's nothing like the rest of my stuff and it's absolutely massive. By this point, he was crying and said, That's the point. I wanted something completely different. All your rings are so plain. I wanted the ring to stand out so everyone would see it and know I love you. I had figured that this was his line of thinking. Others guessed as well. I told him that I understood where he was coming from and emphasized that I am so thrilled to be engaged, but that I want the ring to be something that I will like. After all, it will be on my finger for the rest of my life. and that the material needs to be durable in order to stand the test of time. I explained to him how delicate amber is, which he didn't know. He said he picked amber because he liked that there were things inside of it. I asked him if he had thought about what he wanted in a ring before he had bought it. When he said no, that he had just gone to the mall and picked one out, I started to cry. I hadn't planned on crying or telling him I was hurt, but knowing that he didn't research anything about rings or really think about it just really got to me. I tried to explain my hurt feelings as eloquently as possible, but I could tell he felt horrible for it. He said that the whole process really freaked him out, and that he regretted not having me pick the ring with him. When it came time to pick, he was overwhelmed by ring choices and went for the most romantic thing he saw. We both cried a lot, needless to say. The talk was very productive though, and it all ended up working out fine, thankfully. He's the best guy I could ever ask for, just with really crappy taste in jewelry, which he now recognizes. So he wants us to pick a new ring together this weekend. So, honestly, I feel like this turned out as good as it possibly could have. He made a mistake for sure, but it wasn't out of laziness. It sounds like he just got overwhelmed and tried to impress her the best way he knew how. Okay, so it's clear that both of them came into this with good intentions. He wanted to surprise her with something meaningful, and she just wanted something she could actually wear and enjoy long term. It's one of those situations where nobody's really wrong, but there's a clear mismatch in expectations. At the end of the day, they communicated, got through it together, and they're fixing it in a way that works for both of them. Not perfect, but honestly, that's probably more realistic than some fairy tale version. Okay, so moving on to the second story, this one's from r/AmIOverreacting. The title goes something like, "Am I overreacting? Boss contacted me F21 regarding bikini pictures I posted online." I have 21, currently work 2 jobs, one of which is a part-time gig at a little deli near my college. I've worked here for a while, and I thought I had a good relationship with my employers. I recently went to the beach and posted some tasteful, in my opinion, pictures of myself that my little sister took, where I happened to be wearing a bikini. The next day, my boss, 50s, 60s, male, messaged me this. I didn't know he even had Instagram. My profile is public, meaning he didn't have to follow me to see the pictures, but I still don't love the idea that he was checking up on my profile like that. My first name is part of my Instagram handle, but not my last, and I don't even have my university in my bio or anything. There is zero connection to the deli at all. So even if the pictures were inappropriate, which I still think they were not, it shouldn't matter. I feel like this is weird, but I told some of my friends about it, F19, F21, and they're saying that it's not a big deal. She has attached a screenshot of the chat with her boss. I'll throw that up on the screen so you can see exactly what he said, but I'll read it out too, just for convenience. "Hi, I see you're scheduled for 4 p.m. shift. We need to talk once you get here. Hello, yes, I will be in at 4 p.m. Is something wrong? No, but your picture's online. I don't want my employees putting their bodies online. This looks bad for the business. I didn't know you followed me on Instagram. In any case, my social media has no quantum connection to. The only thing attached to it is my name. Yes, but I don't like this. We will talk at 4 p.m. All right? Yes. Okay, I will see you then. Okay. So I saw this post, and at first I wasn't sure how to feel about it. I mean, it's just bikini pics. Totally normal, right? But then I saw that her boss, like actual employer, followed her on Instagram and decided to DM her about it. And yeah, that's when it crossed a line for me. Like maybe he thought he was doing the right thing, being protective, I don't know. But it just comes off weird. Super weird. And like, I get it, some bosses are old school, but nah, this ain't it. It's one thing if she brought it to work or was posting about the deli, but she wasn't. It was just her living her life. And now this guy is making her second guess it? Nah, if I were in her shoes, honestly, I'd go private, block him, and probably start looking elsewhere. Because even if nothing happens, once you feel watched like that, you never really relax again. Let me know. What do you think?
So a little heads up about the game. I'm out here trying to hunt a few fishes so I don't starve to death out here, and of course keeping an eye out on the zombies. Since the sun's going down,
I need to rush to shore quick, need to place some torches around the furnace, and yeah, I still need to build a bed. Moving on to the third story. This one's from r/AmIOverreacting. Am I overreacting by getting mad at my fiance for getting hard while I was crying?
I've 27 is engaged to my fiance and 30 for 6 months now after dating for 3 years. Everything was and still great between us. Perfect even. Our connection is really strong and we have a very good communication. But 3 days ago, my husky dog, which I've had ever since I was in middle school, passed away. I was devastated, as expected, and I spent the whole morning and day crying, even took a day off from work. But when we were cuddling in bed, with me literally crying in his arms, I felt something weird. Looked down only to find him hard as a steel. I was completely shocked and offended. I looked at him and asked him what is getting him aroused when I'm literally breaking down in his arms. He laughed and said that I sound sexy when I'm crying. I'm not joking when I say I felt chills. Bad type of them. I'm hurt. Lost a pet that was more of a childhood friend to me, and he's getting hard because he thinks about me sounding sexy while crying? I got very offended and refused to sleep in our bedroom and choose to sleep in the guest room instead. And when I woke up by the morning and went to talk to him about it and how it made me feel, he didn't apologize and just brushed it off as something he can't control and out of his hand and processed to tell me that I was being quote-unquote dramatic about it. I've been acting cold with him ever since, with him clearly trying to convince me that there's nothing for me to get upset about. Am I actually overreacting by feeling offended and upset? I mean, would he have to get hard every single time I cry because he can't control it? He has seen me cry 1,000 times, and I didn't really notice him getting aroused. But even if he did, all those stuff I was crying about weren't that serious. But death? That's crazy for me. Edit. Forgot to say that he indeed tried to actually do something more when he told me I sound sexy. I didn't mention it because it's not a forward touching, and when I brought it up the next morning he got defensive and said that, quote, he was trying to cuddle me on top. He didn't touch me or anything, but he did try to lay me on my back. You know when you're cuddling on your side? He rolled me on my back and tried to pin me down, and that's when I actually got up and refused to sleep in the bedroom with him.
So there's an update to this post. I'll read it out first. I was annoyed by him getting a boner because I thought that he might have been thinking about me sexually. I was sensitive at the time and didn't think of it the right way, and I understand why so many men got offended and defensive in my first post. I'd be myself if someone was blaming me for getting aroused when I can't control it. Second of all, I don't hate my fiancé. He's my fiancé for a reason. Anyways, let me get in the main thing. After I posted my first post, by probably 3 hours he was home. I told him to sit down and talked calmly. I apologized for getting offended by him getting a boner since he can't control it, and was waiting for him to apologize for what he said and tried to do. But he just said that he forgave me and then start going on about him meeting his brothers. In GL, that just made me feel worse, but I didn't push it. An hour later, he went out with his brothers, and I went out to meet up with my best friend. I told my best friend what happened just because I was still feeling a little bit upset and she asked me about it. She got the ick and started saying that it was completely weird to say such a thing and I should probably talk to him about why is he still refusing to apologize. Mind you, he always apologizes whenever I tell him that he did something wrong or uncomfortable, but he refused to apologize this time. And so I did. I sent him a text and he asked, what do we need to talk about? And I explained. And that's when those texts happened. I'm completely dumbfounded, devastated, and extremely hurt.
So she's also attached like a whole series of screenshots from her chat with her fiance. I'll throw them up on the screen here. And I'll read out a few of the more relevant ones just for context. But if you want to read the full convo, and honestly it's a lot, I've dropped the original Reddit post link in the description. You can check that out after this. Gosh, why are you still talking about this? I thought it was over already. Because it was weird. You made it weird. No, it's fucking not. I always get a boner when you cry, because you sound sexy. It's okay, shit happened. I'm not mad that you got a boner. I've said that 100 times.
For now, I'm actually sad because why would you tell me you find me sexy while crying? That's so fucking weird. Even Sarah said it was weird. You could have just apologized and kept cuddling me. And then you tried to pin me down. And I told you I was just trying a new cuddling position. And let's just say I had sex with you while you were crying. So what? That's a compliment, by the way. Not everyone is hot while crying. You should feel flattered instead of this shit. I'm literally speechless right now and crying. Send pics, wanna it? WTF, I'm so fucking shocked right now. Grow the fuck up. I didn't text you to start fighting again. I'm texting because I want you to come back so we could clarify everything and that's it. Let's just say, God forbid, one of my parents died, I'd fuck you. Is that what you want to hear? Because it looks like it. You didn't even let me fucking finish. What is wrong with you? I'm just trying to fix stuff and you're here, being completely childish. Okay, you got a fucking boner, congrats. Why are you saying these stuff? I'm not trying to paint you as a fucking sociopath. All I wanted was a small apology and I would have thrown this problem away, but you're clearly refusing to apologize. I'd never apologize, and next time you're crying, I'd fucking rip you. Now go cry so I could jerk it. Yeah, we're definitely over. If you have any shit to say, connect with my father. He'd know how to deal with your pathetic ass. Ugh. Yeah, okay, I can't read these anymore, guys. The dude just starts going off and saying some wild stuff. If you want to check out the full convo, I'm just tossing the screenshots up on screen, and I've also linked the post down in the description if you'd rather read it there. Alright, so I'll pick it up from where she left off. She writes,
All I wanted was just sorry, but he just kept going, and it seems that he was getting pleasure out of it or something. I don't really know, and there's more of the conversation we had, but it'll be too much if I actually put the whole thing here, and there was many stuff he said and admitted that are completely disturbing, and so many messages he deleted that I couldn't screenshot, and we even had a call in between. I said stuff, and he said stuff, so many things happened. That's why I'm not going to mention everything here. Nor would I talk shit about him. I'm doing this update to clarify everything, and that's it. And I myself have said bad things to him on the phone. Anyways, after I blocked him, I drove to my parents' house, I told my family everything, and my dad said he'd take care of it. I stayed there for a couple of hours before he, as expected, showed up with a bouquet of flowers. My father refused to let me talk to him, and instead he stepped outside and talked with my fiancé himself. My dad didn't want to say what they both talked about, so I have no idea what happened in that conversation, but he did say that my fiancé would never bother me again, and that I could officially call the engagement off once I feel ready for it. That's all what happened to me in those past few hours. Not gonna lie, I'm hurt, and I feel a little bit guilty, but I'm going to stay in my family's house for the next 2 weeks until I feel better. Thank you to everyone who actually gave me some advice for me to talk to him again, and to everyone that actually supported me in my first post. I'm gonna heal. Trust. Okay, I gotta be honest, this one really left a bad taste in my mouth. Look, yes, physiology happens. A boner isn't conscious, most of the time, but choosing to comment that crying sounded sexy, and then not apologize? That's on you. Trying to pin her down while she's crying, then gaslighting her, and refusing to apologize, and that's not just emotional immaturity. That's straight up manipulative and creepy. And I saw people in the comments defending him like, he couldn't control it. Yeah, maybe, but he could control how he responded. He chose to minimize her pain. He chose to be gross. He chose not to say sorry. That's what makes him the bad guy here. Honestly, good on her for leaving. Her instincts were spot on, and her support system kicked in when it mattered most. Let me know what you would have done. Moving on to the next story. This one's from r/BOR updates, or technically the original from r/AITAH. Title, Am I the asshole for avoiding going out with my sister because every guy I talk to ends up attracted to her? I've 23, have a younger sister who is incredibly beautiful, like the kind of beauty people comment on instantly. I've always considered myself decent looking, but when we're together, it's like I disappear.
The issue is that every time I'm getting to know a guy, whether we're flirting, dating, or even just hanging out, the moment he meets my sister, his attention shifts to her. Some even start obviously flirting with her, right in front of me. It's painful, and it's happening so consistently that I've started avoiding situations where she and guys I know might be in the same room. My sister isn't doing this on purpose. I love her to death, and she's not malicious at all. But she's naturally very extroverted, warm, and open. She's the kind of person who will walk into a room and start a conversation with anyone. That's just who she is. She doesn't mean to flirt, but it can come off that way. I'm more ambiverted, so next to her, I probably seem way quieter and less engaging, which might make the contrast even more noticeable. Now she's picked up on me distancing myself. She's asked why I don't invite her out anymore, or why I avoid introducing her to people I know, and I feel like a terrible sister for not telling her the truth. But I also don't know how to keep putting myself in situations where I feel second best or invisible. So am I the asshole for choosing to keep some space between us in social settings just to protect my self-esteem? Edit for clarity. She doesn't flirt on purpose. Her personality is naturally outgoing and charismatic, and guys seem to interpret that as interest even though that's not her intention. She never encourages them or tries to steal anyone. This is more about how I feel than anything she's doing.
Okay, there's an update to this story.
I realize my sister isn't stealing guys from me. She's filtering out the ones who weren't really interested in me to begin with. If someone meets me, then gets distracted the moment she walks in, that says more about them than it does about either of us. And honestly, I'm kind of glad they reveal themselves early. So now, instead of avoiding going out with her, I've started leaning in. I actually want her around more, because I know that if a guy can't handle being around someone beautiful and outgoing without completely losing focus, he's not someone I need in my life anyway. It's like she's my human dating litmus test, and she's great at her job. I also talked to her finally. I explained why I'd been a bit distant and made sure she knew it wasn't her fault. She was super understanding and kind, which honestly just made me feel worse for having held it in for so long. But here's the curveball. During our chat, she casually suggested I get lip filler to help with my confidence. Now, to be clear, I never mentioned feeling physically insecure, so I was a little caught off guard. But I don't think she meant it in a shady way. She has filler herself and probably meant it as a, this helped me, maybe it'll help you kind of thing. Still, not sure how I feel about that suggestion. But hey, at least we're in a place now where we can be open with each other again. Also, I just want to address something that came up a lot in the comments. Quite a few people asked me to post pictures. That honestly made me feel pretty uncomfortable. I have skyzy when they have been tuity. It was been a feeling as flating my life involving was types for hissing or curry. The flating is about how's riced. And I'm really grateful that so many people helped me see that I don't have to keep carrying that feeling around. So here's what I think. OP's feelings, totally valid. Feeling overshadowed by your own sister in a way that chips at your confidence? That's exhausting. But then, that perspective shift? Pure gold. Seeing it not as a curse, but as a filter to show who deserves your energy? That's powerful. And the truth bomb. Your sister, isn't stealing guys. She's just showing who the serious guys were all along. Now she's leaning in, having the tough talk, and they're good again. That's growth. That's connection. My takeaway? You don't have to dim your light to avoid being eclipsed. And sometimes, the people who shine brightest around you are your, best allies. Moving on to our fifth story. This one's from r/best of Redditor updates, titled, Am I wrong for no longer cooking for wife after she drunkenly admitted she wished her male co-worker could cook for her instead? My wife and I have been married for 7 years and together for 10. A couple years ago, my wife had a male co-worker who used to cook for the office often. My wife used to always rave about his food, and it, admittedly, made me insecure, also because he looked like a Greek model. I'd also started cooking for wife around that time. I was never a serious cook, but I decided to give it a shot. Prior to then, I only used to cook basic food, but I decided to try cooking complex meals. However, a lot of times it didn't come out great. My wife used to help me, but I never was serious about it. One night, my wife was drunk, and we just had a beef Wellington I had cooked. It was sort of a disaster, and my wife and I were both laughing about it. However, my wife then drunkenly admitted she
wished her male coworker could cook for her every day. I didn't fully grasp what she was saying as I was really drunk, but my wife realized what she said and she apologized. I told her it was all right and that it was probably some attempt at joke. However, the next day, I grasped what she was saying and I felt really deflated. My wife sensed it and apologized again, and after taking a day to think about it, I told my wife, let's not make a big deal about it, but also I was never going to cook for her ever again. My wife again apologized and almost started crying, but I told her it was all in the past and let's move on. It's been 2 years since then, and my wife and mine's relationship is stronger than ever. Over the past couple of years, I've also spent a lot of time taking cooking lessons from my sister, who's a really good cook. I learned that cooking just takes a lot of consistent practice, and you can't just learn it over the internet. You need to acquire the skill. And I can now confidently say I am a much better cook than I was a couple of years ago. I cook for friends and for my family or my wife's family when they come over. The food I'm the most proud of, and which I got a lot of compliments on, is the Valencian paella I made when my wife's family came over for Christmas. However, in spite of the progress I've made, I can't find it in me to cook for my wife alone. I still remember the hurt and insecurity I felt a couple of years ago. My wife even stopped speaking to and taking food from the coworker after that incident, and the coworker has even left the company since. But I still can't find it in me to cook a romantic dinner for my wife. My wife has asked me a few times, and she says she's willing to do anything to repent or take accountability.
But I tell my wife I've already forgiven her a couple of years ago. It's just that I cannot mentally bring myself to ever cook for her. Am I wrong?
Let's read the update to this first.
I didn't want to make a big deal of it, so I told my wife this morning I would start cooking for her tonight and make her a special dinner. My wife was very excited and hugged and thanked me, and I am nervous and excited and looking forward to opening this new chapter in our lives. I, however, reminded my wife again how she had almost destroyed my love for cooking a couple of years ago. I also gave my wife an analogy. My sister told me this morning to tell this analogy to make my wife understand the impact of what she said a couple of years ago. I asked my wife how would she feel if I drunkenly admitted to preferring hugs from Vanessa. Vanessa's my close childhood friend, because Vanessa has a softer and more feminine feel to her. I asked my wife if she would get over that comment even if I apologized the rest of our lives, and my wife admitted she wouldn't be able to get over that comment, and she apologized again for what she said a couple of years ago. But having said all that, I am really excited about tonight. I plan on making my wife lemon butter lobster risotto and serve it with a glass of white wine. I hope to make it as romantic as possible, and I hope it comes out good. Look, this one hits a nerve. It's not about the cooking. It's about respect. He cooked after a long day. He provided evening meals for the kids and the family, and she just trashed it. Literally. That's hurtful. No. No one's saying he's a master chef. They're saying she was dismissive, and he had every right to set a boundary. When he chose to face the hurt, talk it out, cook a special meal, and give her space, that was real maturity. He didn't flame out, he didn't tantrum, he set a boundary and then offered a path forward. He said hurtful words. Still sting, even with apologies. That's real talk. So yeah, he was justified. This isn't cooking drama, it's emotional labor. And sometimes, the most caring thing you can do is say enough. Yeah, then come back with love. What do you think? Should he have stuck to his boundary or forgiven and just started cooking again? Drop your thoughts. Alright, the sixth story is from r/WhatDoIDo, and the question is basically, should I, ask out a cop who pulled me over?
Today, I, 42-year female, got pulled over by a cop for speeding on the highway. Guys, I'm a mature woman. I am around handsome men all the time and function just fine, but there was something about this guy who made me feel like a 13-year-old girl with her first crush. I was smiling like an idiot, blushing, stammering. In short, you'd have to be an idiot to miss that I was a bit starstruck. I haven't had a speeding ticket since I was 18, so he let me go,
told me to take it easy and use my cruise control. He said I was free to go. He got halfway back to his cruiser and turned around and came back to my window. He gave me his card with his cell scribbled on the back and told me to call if I ever needed anything or just wanted to talk. I don't know if he was just being polite, doing his job, etc. What do I do? Update 1. I did a little social media dive. It seems he broke up or was broken up with a few months ago. I don't see his name plastered all over Google or anywhere else, which is good or bad because he was able to cover his tracks. There's an article with him getting some award for bravery in the line of duty a couple years back as a county cop. He's a state trooper now. Say what you want about being a stalker. You want to send me all these warnings no matter who it is. I'm doing a little bit of due diligence. Y'all have me a little timid with your stats and warnings. My initial intent of the post was more, was he just doing his job? Or was he maybe being personal? I still don't know. To be fair, part of our interaction was me asking him if I put my hands on my steering wheel, would he please walk to the passenger window because cars were just rushing by and it was making me anxious. He laughed because here he is about to possibly give me a ticket and I was concerned for his safety. Maybe he thinks I need a shrink. Because of that, I am still undecided but leaning no to contacting him. Update 2. So, after tons of private messages and reading all these pieces of advice, I got to thinking how I would feel if I was reduced to a statistic. I do corporate/commercial lending. Bankers are notorious for partying and cocaine usage. I would hate for someone to pass on me because I might fall into that category. So, I texted him. I sort of tested him by sending an ambiguous text. Hey, thanks so much for your help the other day, it was greatly appreciated. No name, no specifics about our interaction, and even the day/time. I feel like if he did pass out his number often, he would have had questions for me to pinpoint who I was. But instead, he came back with, no problem. How can you reach the pedals to speed with your tiny self in that big truck anyway? We had a nice exchange and we did end up video chatting via WhatsApp, as I'm a Galaxy and he's an iPhone user.
We talked for about an hour where he allowed me to choose where and when to meet up coffee tomorrow before work, so I have a cutoff time to leave. He further surprised me by acknowledging the bad reputation of cops and said he would make the calls as far as boundaries, etc. He was in no rush, and neither am I. Truly no red flags, but certainly doesn't mean I won't be very aware to keep my eyes open as I would be with anyone. We'll update again after coffee if y'all want. Updated after coffee. Had coffee with cop, he was in street clothes, and he was still hot. No badge bunny here. We had a casual conversation. He seemed a tiny bit awkward at first. He said he was intimidated by me as he was sitting in shorts and a t-shirt and I am in a full business suit and 4.5 lubes. I had told him I worked at a bank. I think he assumed that I was a teller or whatnot, not someone with a high ranking and career position. He quickly settled in though, and we had a nice time. I did not catch any odd behaviors, no cover-up or topics he shied away from. He was quick to answer and seemingly open. Two-way conversation with both of us asking and answering questions in a natural way. I didn't feel interrogated. He checked his phone from time to time, and even flipped it around so I could see it was his work friend, and again when it was his brother. I told him that wasn't necessary, and he said it was a habit from his ex. Not only was she wholly unprepared emotionally to date a cop, issues of crazy anxiety when he was late or couldn't answer her because he was on a call, she also was paranoid he was cheating. He said in the end that she was driving him crazy and it was affecting his focus at work, and that was why he had to end it. He said she was a nice woman but just emotionally not for him. That seems plausible. I had to leave, but he gave me a hug, a genuine, strong hug complete with butterflies, and said he would be in touch if I was interested. I told him he could text me, I'd like to get to know him more. So happy day. I'm not stuffed in a trunk on my way to an abandoned warehouse. Honestly though, while I am aware of the statistics, I'm so surprised that so many of you, about 60-40, would unilaterally not date or speak to a cop as a result, or the what ifs. It was just a phone call and coffee. I'm not so far gone that I'm doodling his name on my post-its. You can be interested and cautious. I'll admit I was a little flustered when we first met at the traffic stop. But that aside, I'm not a complete idiot. I'm also a mom to 3 teenagers. I would never endanger them by not being 100% sure about someone before getting serious. Although my 2 boys might give any officer unarmed a run for their money.
My best friend was married to a second grade teacher. After 7 months of marriage, he began to hit her. He would knock the shit out of her and then go to work singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. I think a more legit stat is 50-50. In any relationship, you run the risk of abuse in many, many forms, not just police, military, etc. Maybe this makes you think I am dumb or desperate. I am neither. But I feel like you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, and I don't want to miss out on a genuine connection. As a single mom, I'm no stranger to men interested in a booty call or fling. I can usually sniff them out pretty quickly. So, the officer will see me another day until I have adequate reason based on his behavior to judge him.
Here's how I see it. On one hand, yeah, getting a number from your cop during a traffic stop is unusual. Maybe that's curiosity, maybe it's crossing a line. You could see why someone might take it as a green light. But on the other hand, he's a public servant. There might be department policies or ethics rules that go against dating someone he pulled over. So should she ask him out? If she trusts the context and he's genuinely respectful and he's not flirting on duty, I guess, but she should be cautious and maybe think twice before mixing personal and professional. It's one of those could work but could also blow up if it gets awkward. So I'd say only if you feel comfortable, and maybe check first if there's any policy about it.
Okay, so I was just wandering around, not paying attention to time at all, and then out of nowhere, darkness. By the time it hits me, it's way too late. No sheep, no bed, so I end up stacking myself onto a pillar and boxing in for the night, just to keep the mobs away. And yeah, that's it. I'm literally just standing there the whole night, waiting for the sun to come back up. Then in the morning, I'll climb back down and keep exploring. Moving on to the 7th story. Am I the asshole? Won't allow sister to adopt newborn. I am 22, have been harassed by my parents and sister F37 for the past 4 days now. My ex F22 had a baby about a week ago, failed birth control on both of us. She kept telling me that she wanted this baby despite knowing I would only financially provide. We discussed abortion and adoption. I didn't force her to either option. Now that the baby is here and in the ICU, my ex nowhere to be found. Ignored all my calls, texts. Nothing has been posted on her socials. Her parents can't even get in touch. One of the nurses handed me the car seat from my ex's car. My sister says she is willing to step up and adopt this baby. I'm not comfortable with that because her husband, M47, creeps me out. I don't have good feelings about him. I don't have proof, but I feel like he's on some sort of list. So I found a nice couple who wants to adopt this baby. They have been visiting us at the NICU, getting to know me and spend time with the baby. I like this couple. My family doesn't, since they want a close adoption. Plus, the couple is 2 women and my parents are ignorant. The adoption will go through in a couple of weeks in case my ex shows up. For now, they could be the legal guardian until everything legal gets settled. Also, I took a paternity test and am the biological father. AITAH for not allowing my family to adopt this baby. Edit. I brought up some of the questions some of you had with the hospital liaison. I wasn't informed that my ex had asked about safe haven laws. I believe they were giving her or me a grace period to keep biological parents with the biological child. The couple was found with the help of hospital staff. They were looking to adopt another newborn, but that fell through. I was very vocal with anyone who would listen that I was not going to be a good dad and I needed help with options that I have. The reason I believe her husband is on some sort of list. I was 15 when I met my sister's husband. He would give me looks that made me feel uncomfortable. He also tried to get me alone with him, so I would try to stay around my mom all the time when he was around. I refused to go to their house for any holidays. This does make my parents upset with me and has for years. I told my mom how I felt when I was younger, and she brushed it off. Alright, real talk. This isn't about refusing help. You can offer financial support or practical help all day, but giving custody to someone whose partner makes you uncomfortable, that's not just a decision, that's a risk. Look, adoption isn't guaranteed to be a gift forever. It changes things, especially power and responsibility. So if her sister or anyone else is upset, tough. The baby's safety and emotional comfort outweigh goodwill gestures. Takeaway. Saying thanks but no thanks here doesn't make OP selfish. It makes them protective. And honestly, I'd feel the same. Alright, this is the last story for today. Am I overreacting? Husband said that he's the boss on a project we're working on, and if I can't get on board, I can leave.
My husband and
So I
I
did.
have been renovating and decorating a house full-time since January. This is our 4th house in the past 3 years, and this has never happened before. We did have a conversation that he's taking the lead on this project. We're in the last 10%, but the entire time, he has been shooting down my ideas. Every single idea I have had gets turned down or extensively questioned, while the handyman we hired gets celebrated for his idea. Any idea that was approved basically needed an Excel sheet and a PowerPoint to get approved. Once the approved project is finished, he likes it. As an example, I wanted to put a free 40-inch TV in the master bedroom, and he literally said no, the other bedrooms might get jealous. I am significantly more handy than my husband. We were talking the other day, and he shot down another one of my ideas, and I gave some pushback, and he said, I'm the boss. If you don't like it, then maybe we shouldn't work together. And I said, okay, and left. It's been about a week now of him working on the house by himself. I am never going to that house again. If he doesn't want my help, that's fine. I am of the mindset that while he is lead on this project, my ideas are still valid. I also don't much appreciate an I'm the captain now from my spouse. Am I overreacting?
Look, that is not how you handle teamwork. Especially with your partner. When you collaborate on something personal, dismissing the other person's input and framing it like either agree or walk away, that's emotional manipulation. It's gaslighting 101. You can't just be crowned boss over someone you love and expect them to fall in line or face the door. A relationship isn't a dictatorship. If you're worried about clashing ideas, talk it out. Not threaten to kick someone out. So yeah, she was justified in leaving. Sometimes, setting boundaries isn't about winning, it's about preserving your dignity. Alright, that's where we're gonna leave this one, but man, what a mess. Thanks for watching, don't forget to like, sub if you haven't, and I'll catch you in the next one.